Hi, my name is Harry Tie, and welcome to Odejuma. Odejuma is an Ishekiri farewell that loosely translates to till tomorrow. But for me, I look at it as a promise that there is so much more in life to look forward to. And this interview-driven storytelling podcast is rooted in that promise. So as you take the time to listen, I want you to feel that as we go deeper with folks from across the Black diaspora, exploring the adventures, resilience, joy, and the ordinary moments that change their lives, that you would have a good, hearty laugh or you find something to sit with. Because there is power in the stories of everyday people, and these stories are worth telling. Hey y'all, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Odejuma. I am Harry Itie. I'm super excited to be here with you today because I have a very exciting guest. But before we get on, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to use the subscribe button. If you're listening on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you're listening, make sure you follow our podcast so that you can stay notified when we drop new episodes, right? And so today, I'm going to get right in. Our guest today is TRYFE. He is a DJ and entertainer whose story goes from dreaming of a career in corporate America to being one of the most sought after Black queer DJs right now, building a career that has included the White House, a Kamala Harris rally, the 2026 Met Gala after party, and partnerships with Apple Music and Serato. A Howard University double graduate and the child of Afro-Cuban immigrants. He's also the founder of the Viribus Foundation, which raises awareness around mental health in Black, Brown, and LGBTQ communities. And on June 20th, he's in Minneapolis headlining the Indigo Room Pride Month edition party. So help me welcome TRYFE. Hey TRYFE, how are you doing?
What's going on? I'm so excited.
I feel really good. That was a very, 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 very impressive bio, very impressive resume. I'm so excited to get to speak with you today. I saw you DJ first at Thirst Lounge, DC Pride 2024, I think. Yes.
Really?
Yes, and it was I had such a great time. And, Pride is always a great time. It's always fun. And, but I think that there was something about that set or that particular day that I was at Thirst. And at that party, I was like, damn, this is such a great vibe. Like, and ever since then, I started following your career, and I'm super excited that you're going to come to Minneapolis. But before we get right into that, I want the people to know you a little bit more. I just gave you a bio, but who's the person behind the name and the person TRYFE? Give us a little bit of insight into who you are a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, from a little research about your podcast, you kind of want to know more about where we come from and where your guests started.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start there. I am a little Black gay boy from Dallas, Texas, and I am of Afro-Cuban immigrants. My dad is from Cuba. He immigrated here with my grandfather, who was a doctor, and he brought his family here. My mother is from the Midwest, and they met in Dallas. I started in music. I've been around music my entire life. Like my great-grandmother and my great-aunts played for Cab Calloway. They played at the Howard Theater, which I've played at in D.C. I started in music at the age of 6 playing the violin, and I played the violin all the way through college. I played for the New Conservatory of Dallas. I played at Carnegie and Lincoln, and I did all those things. And then when I got to college, I joined the Howard Gospel Choir, where I got into singing and playing other instruments. And then it wasn't until after I graduated college that I started DJing. And I actually had no intentions of becoming a DJ. I never wanted to be a DJ. I literally fell into it.
But you fell into it, and now like this is now your full-time career. But you started playing music from like a kid, and you said Carnegie Hall. Like, did it ever cross your mind that, okay, fine, maybe I would be a professional, maybe classical artist or something, or was music not even on the radar at all?
In high school, I had the opportunity to join a performing arts high school. It's Booker T. Washington Performing Arts High School in Dallas. It's where Nora Jones went, Erykah Badu went, Todrick Hall. Really great, amazing school. But my parents, I wanted to go there. My parents were very much into me going into more academic studies, as most immigrant children's parents are. And I went into a school. I got accepted to a school that was a law preparatory high school. I originally had intentions of becoming a judge or an attorney. And I went to Howard, and I got to Howard as a pre-law major. And I went along that journey. I think within 6 weeks, I changed my major to tech because I landed this amazing internship and they were paying like amazing money. And I was like, oh, this is where the money is. So
Mm-hmm.
this is gonna be my major. And that's how I got started into going down that tech world. With my parents, I wouldn't say that they didn't support me in my music career because they did. They were at all of my events. They supported me paying for private lessons for anything that I wanted to do. But they were very adamant on you need to get a degree because music may not pay the bills, but this degree will. And so they definitely pushed me in that direction. And I just never had the intentions because I didn't think it was an option to be a full-time musician. I also felt like it wasn't lucrative enough to support me in whatever my future endeavors were. So I just didn't go down that path, but I was literally pulled back into it. And when I started DJing, I actually downloaded some DJ software in college and I used to just play around with it and I would like make mixes and I would sometimes send it to my friends and be like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And I graduated. My first job was with Johnson and Johnson and I was living in New Jersey. I was bored after work. I would just go to work, go to the gym, and I was like, this can't be it. So I went and bought a play, like, wouldn't call it a play, but it was like $100, $200 turntable. And every day after work, I would just come home and I would mix. And like, if my roommates at the time, if we had friends over, I would just mix. And so one day somebody was like, hey, I'm having a cookout and would you be my DJ? And I'm like, well, I'm not really a DJ, but I'll bring my computer and computer speakers and I'll DJ for you. And I did like one of those. And then someone was like, can you do my birthday party? And I was like, I'm not a DJ, but like, I'll come do that. And then someone asked me to do their Halloween party in DC. And so I went and bought like the big DJ speakers. I threw them in my car. I drove to DC and I did that Halloween party in someone's clubhouse in DC. It was an apartment building. And in that party were two promoters. And they walked up to me and they were like, do you do clubs? And I was just like, sure, yeah. I didn't even have a DJ name. Like I was just like, yeah, I do it. Of course, yeah, I do it. That was in 2014. That was October 2014. In November, December of 2014, I was booked to do my first club appearance. And I was opening up for Dawn from Danity Kane. My very first club appearance was us.
Wow.
And it's so ironic because she was at Thirst about a month or two ago, and about 4 months ago. And I chatted with her about that and like where I am now from when we took our pictures. Her picture is actually the very first picture on my Instagram. If you scroll all the way down from me that
Yeah.
night. I was so scared. I was so nervous. And I just remember the promoters were just like, just have fun. Just do your thing. And I text all my friends and like, I got through the night. I remember I sat in the car and I was just like, shit, I'm a DJ.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I went home that night. I got to drive back to New Jersey and I was thinking of a name. I was like, I need a name. I gotta have a name. And that's how I got started.
Mm-hmm. So where did the name TRYFE come from?
So it came from college.
Okay.
It is short for trifling. So, it is short for trifling. I've branded it so well where it doesn't scream that, but that is what it is short for. In college, I joke a lot and like I'm a jokester. And my friends should be like, oh my gosh, you're so trifling. And so I used to joke and be like, well, put some respect on my name and call me Mr. Trife. And
Mm.
so friends should be like, there go Mr. Trife. And that became my Instagram handle. And so DJ Trife just was the natural progression. And then that's why my Instagram is still Mr. Trife.
Yeah.
And I just kind of left it there. And then as I started growing my brand outside of just DJing, when I started finding myself like the Potomac Housewives appearances and like hosting and like things like that, I was like, I think the DJ at the front is doing a disservice to me, especially when I got into like production. I dropped the DJ probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And I just was like, gonna be Trife. And it's so weird to me because everyone calls me Trife now. Like that is my name. When I walked into the White House, they were like, Mr. Trife, it's so great to have you. And the only people who call me by my name are like my family members, like my mom and maybe my brothers and stuff. But even they refer to me as Trife if we're not at home.
Mm-hmm.
It was the weirdest thing at first. I used to when people call me, I'm like, why are people calling me Trife? And now if someone doesn't call me Trife, I kind of get a little upset, especially when we're in public. And it's like, do you know how I built this? This is my name. I own it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I built it. It has taken me to the highest places in the world. This is my name now. And like, do not refer to me as anything else. It reminds me of like Tina Turner when, when she got divorced and they were like,
Yeah.
"We keeping Turner. It's mine."
Yes. You built it from the ground up. Your blood, sweat, and tears. That's your name now.
It's mine.
Yeah. Okay. Shout out to that. I'm very curious about you talk about how, being a DJ became just a part of, what you were doing and who you were in the world. How would you describe where you are now professionally, as an artist now? How would you describe how your forms of expression, your forms of creativity, and how does that show up in your work?
Yeah, that's a great question. And in an overarching word, I'm in a transition. I'm in a big transition. And I think that like I hope that you and I can sit down again about a year from now.
Mm,
And we have this conversation again and we
I
talk.
got you. I'm looking it down right now.
Yeah, where I am a year from now and what I've done a year like later. I think it's gonna be a really interesting conversation. But to step back into the question, the past 4 years or so have been probably the most difficult years of my life, and it's mainly been me finding who I am and understanding my gift. And on a personal note, like I buried my dad, I buried my grandfather, I buried a stepbrother. It was like every 6 to 8 months, something was happening. And I also stepped away from my job in corporate America. And I was extremely comfortable.
Mhm, mhm,
I was extremely
mhm,
comfortable. I was making more money than anybody in my family had ever made. So to walk away from that security and the thing that gave me my identity, like the money, the job, the title, the house, the cars, those things I felt were my identity. And the journey, I was more concerned with that journey than the journey of TRYFE. It was
mhm,
always that first, and then TRYFE was just something I did on the weekends. Albeit doing amazing things, I always tried to minimize TRYFE and maximize, even when I presented myself to people or if I was dating, I would say, this is who I am, this is what I do. I do that on the weekend on the side. Having to let go of that job, I had to let go of that identity. And that started me on this journey that I am on now, where people would ask me, what do I do for a living? I was like, damn, what do I do for a living? Like, that's interesting. So the first thing I had to understand was myself and who I was and what I came to this earth to do. And I have a gift, and my gift isn't necessarily just DJing, but my gift is spreading joy to people and doing that through music. And I've done that through DJing, through singing, through the violin and the piano. Like every instrument that I picked up, I've been able to be a joy to people. I don't think it has necessarily anything to do with my talent, but more or less everything to do with my gift to the world. And once I started to understand why I was on this earth, then I started to understand what I should be focusing on and what I should be doing. So when it came to TRYFE, it no longer was performances anymore and gigs. It was me walking into a room and looking at the room and filling the room out, which I feel is my gift, is being able to fill a room and see what people need and give
mhm,
that to them. So it wasn't what I had in my set or what I thought I was going to go in there and play. It was about what the room needed. And I think the peak of me understanding that was the rally. And we'll talk about that, I know, at some point. But the peak of that was walking into a room with 30,000 people and having hours to prepare and executing the goal that was there. And the goal was to bring joy into the room. And so you ask like, where's my career now? It's figuring out how to use my talents for good and to support myself. So it's interesting that you said that you met me at Thirst Lounge, and Thirst was at the time my dad had just passed away maybe 2.5 months before that. So I was dealing with his transition, uh, but I had just started my new company, and Thirst was my first client. So I have a consulting company, and we help restaurants, lounges, and bars, corporations, and even small events. I help them build out their musical programming. So if you
mm,
own a restaurant or a bar and you want to book DJs, most people don't know like what DJs are going to fit the sound, the brand, and it's like what type of audience are you trying to bring? Because the audience that you're looking for is connected to the music, not necessarily to the visible DJ or what they
Yeah.
visibly look like. And most people are stuck on the visible DJ or what, they see on social media. So it's not a great connection. And then understanding rates and markets and all of that stuff is, which I know very well. So I started that, and I've been able to continue to use my talent to bring that joy and to connect people and musicians and put them together in the right places that makes the most sense for both of them. And so it brings joy to me, because in the first year that Thirst was open, I was there every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all day, all night, sitting and listening and curating. And then probably once a weekend or every other weekend, I would hop on the wheels. So to answer your question, I'm definitely in a transition. I've moved from being corporate TRYFE to not just DJ TRYFE, but TRYFE the consultant, TRYFE the artist, TRYFE the performer. All of that is changing now. And so I'm very excited with, like, now that I'm on the wheels are starting to turn in these places, and I see the opportunities and the doors and the roads that are opening, where I end up now.
Yeah. And when you were speaking, I'm trying not to get emotional here. Because you talk about grief. Something that I'm gonna share with you now. A couple of days before I got to DC, I think I got to DC on Thursday. And then I got to DC on Thursday, and that was the Thursday that my sister had called me, my father had passed. Like that weekend out, I was at DC Black Pride. And I remember being there. My family is my dad was in Nigeria. I'm living here. You can't really do anything much. And also we had a very interesting relationship at that point in time. And so it's like we had I was going through a lot of emotions that weekend, but I was out. I was with my friends, and I remember I didn't go to see a show. I went to, like, I think it's a Signature Theater. I think it's in Virginia or so. I'd gone there. I've seen a show that was about a gay guy and his immigrant father, and how his father died, and he couldn't say a lot of things that he wanted to say to the father. And then I was dealing with, so that got me emotional. And then I come out, and then I'm getting a call that my dad had passed, and I think that one, and which is why I remember that day at Thirst so vividly, because I think that was the only time I was away from, like, my friends. When you go to like this Pride event, you and your friends, you go to all the things together. That was the only time I was by myself. I remember I took a walk from where I was staying. I took it all the way down to Thirst, feeling all the multitudes of emotion, feeling a little bit of guilt that, I am here. You know what I'm saying? My father just passed, feeling like I shouldn't be feeling grief because of the kind of relationship that we had, as father and son, and going through, that I shouldn't really be grieving the way I am because of our relationship, but also feeling the emotions that, I am still sad that this person who was a huge part of my life is gone. And then going into this lounge and then having, like, the best time of my life because of the music, right? And I'm just hearing you talking about how your goal was to bring joy, and just like the reason why I went to a bunch of parties that weekend, but there's some things that stick to me about that weekend. There is, the play that I saw before I heard the news, and there was my time at Thirst. And so it's like, you are doing what you're doing. You are providing joy to people, because in that moment in time when I was dealing with a very tumultuous life situation, you hearing you, and I think what's his name? Amorphous also played afterwards. Like yeah. So I think that that I was like, this is, it feels very, it's taking me back to that moment. And also hearing that you're also dealing with your own grief at the time,
Yes, emotions.
Yeah.
And
So
you never
thank
know
you.
that, because you don't know what people are going through. You just think that, the day is happening, and it's
Yeah.
never typically that easy, that simple.
Yeah. It's never. And I think that, it was such a, I don't think anybody understood where I was at, but I think so my friends knew I was dating a
You were
guy at the
there.
time.
We were there in that room together. We were both experiencing that.
Yes.
We were both experiencing that. Thirst was built and with that energy. I mean, Thirst opened up December of 2023. And that is when I found out that my father was put on hospice and was dying. And they asked me to join them. And I was like, I don't know, I got too much stuff going.
Mm-hmm.
And my father was passing in Texas. So it required me to fly back. So every weekend I would go be by my father's side and then fly back to Thirst. And then I continued to do that to handle his affairs. And so it was still very fresh just for me as it was for you, because as soon as I left Thirst, I was getting on a plane and I was going back to handle those affairs. I'm glad you shared that with me, because we
Yeah.
don't know when you're sharing, you don't know how you're impacting people, but
Yeah.
to know that you were going through that too, it means so much, because we were in there and we were having a good time and like
Yeah.
the emotions and all the things moving, but
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah. I remember I was close to the DJ booth. There was a mirror there,
Right?
you
Yeah.
know, and I was having so much fun, but I was still in the middle of the grief, And I've not talked about this in a while, but it's like just having to deal with that in that space and not having anybody. I feel like music is very healing, that people don't like to like. There's something about music. And there are different times on the dance floor I would think about him and I would smile. It was such a very interesting time. And I think I'm curious, how are you dealing with you've had back to back grief. How are you dealing with, how are you navigating, because grief is hard. And, like I see it, I'm getting flustered myself. It comes in waves. You can't really control it. So how are you handling yours in this moment?
I Everyone has to find the thing that works for them best. For me, is stepping away and kind of turning inward, and I heal myself the best. I've tried to let other people heal me. It doesn't quite work the same. I just got to step away and do that. And so, I mean, we've been following each other for the past like 2 years or so. So I go through these spurts where you see me, I'm very visible, I'm everywhere, I'm doing a lot of things, and then I'm gone. And typically that is when I need some time for myself. And so and I think that like, it makes me so grateful that I don't work like a 9 to 5, because it allows me to say, oh, I need a couple weeks. Like, I don't need a day. I need to go sit down on the couch for a week and a half and shut my door and just let it out. So I do that. I take just time just to be still and to disconnect, because I feel everybody's emotions. That's my gift, is feeling emotions. And so sometimes I need to step away from all of that. The second thing that I do is the gym. Now, it is my saving grace, and I look at the gym as a part of my job. So you may have your 10 a.m. stand up meeting every day. I have my 10 a.m. gym. So regardless of what I got going on, regardless if I'm depressed or whatever, I get up and I go to the gym. And it could be a great workout, it could be a bad workout, but it does multiple things. It gets me out the house, it gets me moving. If I just go sit in the steam room or just go sit in the sauna, or I just go stand on the Stairmaster for 30 minutes or 40 minutes. And sometimes it's bad, sometimes I'm just climbing until I don't feel like climbing anymore. And I'll stand on there until I'm exhausted. And that helps me sleep, because if you're grieving, sometimes you can't sleep. And so if you go exhaust yourself, you can sleep. And I told my therapist this. I was like, well, it may not be healthy to exhaust myself on the Stairmaster, but I was like, I feel like there are more unhealthy things that I could be doing. Like, worst case is I lose a little weight and my heart gets stronger. Like, worst case here. So I do that. The final piece is I find my own joy. And what I had to learn, especially in my 20s, when I dealt with more of my major depressive episodes, is that I can't rely on anybody else for my joy. I can't rely on my mom. I can't rely on my friends. That joy is 100% my responsibility. And I don't like to use the term like, ain't nobody coming to save you, because that's not necessarily true. Somebody may come save you, but only you can save yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So someone may come to the water while you drowning and offer you a life raft, but like, you still got to do a little work to get yourself out that water. So my way of finding joy is at my house. Like, I have an amazing sound setup and lighting setup throughout the entire home. and it could be a Tuesday night, and I will have my favorite songs blasting, okay? And I'm twirling around in the mirrors, I'm singing and dancing. I grab my stage fans sometimes and I set them up. And like it is a full production and performance. And it's one rehearsal, hey, right? But two, it's just it's me getting that anxiety out, it's getting that movement out, and it's feeling the music because the music has never led me wrong. Like the music has never left me wrong. And music is frequency. So, you know, you need to pump some of those high frequencies. That's why house music is like scientifically good for you because
Mm-hmm.
it's about where your heart rate is supposed to go when it's up and it's excited and it's moving. At 125 BPMs is a excited heart rate. So
Mm-hmm.
you get the heart moving at that rate, and like now you are literally in tune with some upbeat music. And so you are effectively upbeat.
Mm-hmm. And I think that just kind of leads me into your foundation, right? And I was gonna go somewhere else, but I think like since we're here on the topic of mental health, we might as well just go right into your foundation that is raising awareness for mental health amongst Black, Brown, and LGBTQ communities. Can you talk about that a little bit more? When did you, what inspired that, and how was that process like? Be running this foundation so far, alongside your artistic career.
I think the first event we did, like it was officially founded in 2020, like it became a 501, but the name of the organization and the mantra of it and the work, I think started in 2017 or 18. But I myself inspired it. I used to have really managed really bad depression, and like I've tried to take my life more than once, and it just I in my late teens and into my 20s, most of my 20s, I was just lost. And I just didn't really know who I was. I was really fighting being TRYFE and being this big creative thing and my gayness and like all of that and just leaning into that. And so I started this event called the Pumpkin Patch. And at first it was just a pumpkin carving event where like my friends got together, we dressed up and we carved pumpkins. And so then the second year I did, and I was like, well, you know, I want to elevate, I'm gonna have to charge for it, but I don't really want to make money off of this. And I was like, well, I need a cause. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna donate to Taraji's Boris P. Henson Foundation. She started a foundation for mental health, which kind of laid the groundwork. And I think I knew what I wanted to do, but I was kind of afraid to step into that. And then when I got to my 30th birthday party, I decided to throw a gala and to make the whole thing a fundraiser and to officially launch my foundation there and to officially tell my story. I thought it would be important to show people that like, even though outwardly I was the pillar of success, I had the degrees and all the nice material things and the jobs, and DJing was going very well for me. I was very accomplished in that. But on the inside, I was a fucking mess. Like I
Mm-hmm.
had a therapist, a psychiatrist, I was on antidepressants, I was on Adderall, like I was on all of these drugs and had all this whole team of people to just to get me up in the morning to get me through my week. So I wanted to share that. I was tired of hiding that. And the other thing is I wanted to hopefully, I don't want to use the word inspiration because I don't want to use myself as say I was a pillar of inspiration, but I did want to let people know that like you can, depression doesn't look like what you think it looks like. Like there are very high functioning people who are carrying depression, especially people who have the financial means to get all the help to
Mm-hmm.
make better. I had the dermatologist and all the things. So I didn't look like what I was really going to. And that was just because of material things. I also wanted to inspire people to like not give up. That if I had gave up or had accomplished those things, those horrible thoughts, ideations that I had, I wouldn't have done the things that I was supposed to do. I wouldn't have given so much joy to people that I have in all these years. So when it came to that foundation, I thought that that was the first thing, was to share the awareness and to make it okay. Like my goal at the
Mm-hmm.
time was, it wasn't to get off of meds. It was to tell people I take antidepressants. I want y'all to know that. Like, and if you need antidepressants, you should get them too. I have a therapist. I have a psychiatrist. So if someone's told you to talk to somebody, you need to go do that. And this is what it looks like. It's okay to do that. That was the initial goal. And then once I realized that, yeah, you're recommending these people to do things, but can't nobody afford that. Like, listen. And so then it turned into, how do we raise money to help provide these things? So I started partnering with Black psychiatrists and therapists, because there's a slew of them, a plethora of them in the DC area. And we set rates prior, and then we would raise funds, and then the foundation would write checks directly to them. So I was supporting Black-owned businesses, I was supporting Black doctors, I was supporting also people who were my friends and their practices, and paying their market rates. But what we were able to do is say, well, somebody comes to you and they're Black, brown, LGBTQIA, then offer them 6 months of services, not 1 or 2 sessions, because that's not going to be enough. Offer them 6 months of services, and we'll take clients on a 6-month basis. And so I'd rather help one person get through a journey and find some type of closure than offering multiple people 1 or 2 appointments. And so that's how that started. It started with me kind of wanting to just share and raise awareness to that and try to make it okay to people. Because at that time, I want to say 10 years ago, it was a taboo for Black men to have therapists. Mental health is a big thing now, but then it was not. And so once mental health started to become a platform that I saw that more people were open to, I shifted to how we can help finance that. And then last year, we shifted the foundation again a little bit more. And so I'm now seeing my foundation as more as something that is for my community, but for what we need in that moment. So yes, we still raise funds through our events for mental health, but we started an event last year for the Congressional Black Caucus weekend. And I've been in here to see, I don't want to say how old I am, how many years, but I've been for a while. And one thing I noticed is that during the Congressional Black Caucus weekend, which is huge for Black people, like the parties, all of the thing, and we as gay people, Black gays, lesbians, LGBTQ, we were completely shut out of that weekend. Like we were accepted to be in the background, a part of stuff, but the panels always stopped short of our rights. They always stopped short of the things that we needed. Even the parties, like you had parties for every state and every organization, but they stopped short of us. And the biggest thing that hurt me was no one recognizes the people that are doing the work for our community today. So I think of Benton Jones, who's a Texas House rep, friend of mine too from high school. He is one of the first Black gay men to be a rep, an openly gay man. And no one speaks about the work that he's doing for our community, or Hope Giselle, or Zachary Parker, the DC council member here, or Twiggy Garcon, or George, who Emmy nominated, or even George Johnson, who is one of the #1 banned books in the country for all boys aren't blue. Like, no one is talking about the work and the advocacy and the policy work that they're doing. So I now work with my foundation in 3 places: awareness, the mental health awareness, the raising the funds, and then honoring. Recognition and honoring. And I think it's important that we recognize and honor the people who are doing the work in our community, but are going unannounced. And I even go further back to think of Marsha P. Johnson or Sylvia Rivera. Like, they started Pride. They started that riot at Stonewall. And then that was in 1969. And then in 1973, when they started having the Pride March in New York, they were banned. White men banned Black people and trans people from the march and parade that they started literally 4 years before. That started by them. And, that goes into why we have Black prides and white prides around the country. But that's a different conversation. But to answer your question with the foundation, that's why I got it started. That's how we started. And this is kind of where we've grown over the past few years or so to do awareness, funds, and then recognition.
I'm gonna go on a tangent a little bit, and I feel like this is such great conversation that we're having, and I just really love how you approach not just your art but your advocacy work and everything. I'm gonna ask you about your advocacy and why it's important for you to do advocacy with your art. But before I do that, I'm curious about. I want us to have a little Black Pride conversation, right? Because Black Pride was trending. It's trending, and I talked about seeing you at Black Pride in DC. Black Pride was trending, and I feel like in Black queer spaces we have these convos a lot about how Pride, it feels like, has lost its essence. you could correct me if I'm wrong, if we, we might disagree. And I feel like partying and joy is a part of our resistance, is a part of who we are, is a part of queer culture that despite of, we're still going to thrive. I'm from Nigeria, where there are laws criminalizing being queer, and that's where I was raised. You know what I'm saying? So I understand the need for spaces of joy. I also believe that, pride events should be accessible to everybody. I feel like I'm not saying don't charge a cover fee. I'm not saying don't, I feel like people should be able to come to a pride event. I'm not saying a party that you are throwing on a random Tuesday in August, or a party you're throwing on a random December Christmas party, right? If we're doing a pride celebration, because pride was a march, we talked about Marsha P. Johnson and all these people. The first pride was a march. If we're gonna have Black Pride that we started because of exclusion, it should be accessible, and we should try to make it accessible. And there was a whole conversation, over the past couple of months. DC Black Pride was the forefront of that conversation. I want to hear your thoughts about what you feel about Black Pride accessibility. As someone who is actually in the know, who actually does events, who actually understands both sides, the same like. So I want to hear your thoughts on that conversation that was going on.
Yes. I won't say DC. I won't single out DC, and I will say Black Pride has lost its essence, or it has changed to be, more along the middle ground. And I do understand both sides of the conversation because I am a promoter in the sense that I've thrown my own events and I've thrown them in DC. And some of the events that I've thrown, I've been on the hook for $20,000 between venue fees. Like, I'll give you an example. The party I did, the Beyonce party I did last July, the Great American Dance Party, the after party for Cowboy Carter. That venue fee was like $5,000. And then the bar minimum, so that's, you have to pay that regardless just to open the doors. It's $5,000. And that really pays for like security, sound team, lighting team. Like, the venues aren't just like, they're making money, but they're not just hitting you over the head for just crazy bullshit numbers, right?
Yeah.
Then the other thing is the minimum of the venue. So they have a minimum spend, and the minimum spend is $15,000. So now the venue can hold 600-700, right? You do it all, but if you do it perfectly, everybody walks away happy. But in the event that you do not, you can walk away on the $5,000 to the venue, whatever the difference is that you didn't make to that venue fee, which, let's say nobody showed up. That's $20K that you're in the hole. And now, did you hire dancers? Did you hire graphic artists to design the stuff? Did you hire DJs? Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? That like it is you have to put up and sign your name on a dotted line, and especially for big events like Pride. People get upset about, well, the venue wasn't big enough. It couldn't hold all these people. Well, if you want to plan to hold that many people, and now you got to think about security requirements. It's like every 100 people, 150 people, you need another person. So you got 5,000 people. You do the number on how many security guards you need. And then for every regular security, you got to add a real police officer. And the hourly rates for all those people to pay them livable wages and respectable wages, it can get very, 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 very expensive. So I understand the charging part for today. The gouging, the price between, making your money and gouging, that's a topic of conversation. The other thing that and I'm going to switch back to the patron side in a second. The other thing that I think people are not aware of is that Black Pride does not receive the same sponsorships as white prides. So when you go to regular Pride things that you see, or just I'm going to say general Pride. When you go to general Prides in June, typically corporations write huge checks. And in the Black Prides, Gilead will write the checks. But shout out to them. They've written checks to my foundation events. But like Hennessy may send you a couple bottles, but you are not seeing the $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 checks that these corporations are writing for general prides. So our promoters are putting up a lot of risk. And, it takes one girl on the internet to tear down a party, and that's $20K, so that is the other side of it. And but when it comes to the sense of pride, I do think we kind of lost it, and not just in the sense of places where we celebrate joy, but places where we are all celebrating. And I think that has less to do with Black people or pride or gays and more to do with capitalism and where the market is today. And I've had a really great seat in seeing DC change. When I started DJing in 2014, Black gays were not really allowed in the top spaces in the city. We were we were we were put in. That's why you had more queer owned clubs back then, and you're starting to see thirst coming back. But there was an era where they no longer were needed or wanted, and so when Black gay clubs like the Bachelor's Mill in DC, which is one of the longest running, oldest Black queer clubs in the country, Lace Lounge, a lesbian spot, Secrets. I don't think that was Black owned, but those places were needed because you could not go and be gay in a regular public space, let alone and during the daytime, like day parties. Like that was a no. Venues were not opening their doors to you. They don't care how much money you promised them. It was not happening. And then when it came to city planners, all of the gay spaces were not in the most desirable places in the city. So, and you think about DC, all those gay clubs I mentioned were all in Southeast DC, where the stadium is today. The Tracks, that was huge. If you get on YouTube and you type in the Tracks was the largest Black gay club on the East in DC for the very long time. It was over there also, down there by where the Nat Stadium is. And so when they built that stadium, as typically happens with Black people, they tore all of the gay clubs in the areas where all the gay clubs were. So Black people then were only allowed to be in our spaces. They were constantly attacking our spaces. And so we had this need. Now, in about 2014, 2015, a promoter in DC booked the largest club in DC it was Dream originally, and then it changed its name to Love Nightclub in DC. Huge, like 5 floors. And the gays were like, wait, what? We get to go to like the big straight club? Like what? And the gays, we don't really do dress codes because like, how can you police trans people and like you gonna give them that, stay away from the dress codes? And so it was the first time that the gays were allowed to go into a predominantly straight space, and we were not subjected to the dress codes, but we were allowed to be ourselves. And the owner of that club, I'm just not saying names of the promoters, the owners, just not that ignorance, but just not to say their names. They made so much fucking money because there's a whole demographic of educated people in this DC area with disposable income. Mm-hmm. And then the next year, they went to the park. And I am going to say the park, and I'm going to say Mark Barnes because he opened his doors to us. And the park to this day still has that day party. And it runs for like 12 hours from like 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. because of the amount of money that was spent from us. And Mark is I will say, one of the number one nightclub owners in the country. If you own a major nightclub in the United States of America, you most likely know the name Mark Barnes, especially on the East Coast. They saw what he did. They saw how much money he made. And then overnight, DJs were allowed to go in other clubs. And so there was even a change for me as the DJs who came before me, like, well, DJ Cedric is still obviously working, doing amazing, but like Cedric has been DJing as long as I've been alive. But Cedric was not allowed into all of these other spaces because his audience and the promoters he worked with were gay. So when you saw that shift, this is kind of where pride started to shift as well, because now the gays are in the venues. We wanted to be in like DC at Rose Bar and like all of the nice places that you went with your straight friends and that the Black straight crowds could go to. You now have that access as gay promoters, which also is why now our Black gay spaces started to close, because no one wanted to go to the hole in the walls and the hole in the corners of the city where I can be at the top of the line venues. And then you introduce, section culture and all those other things. Now, that's where the price change for promoters happens. Now, promoters have crazy minimums. The gays back then just said, come on. Like, y'all come on. We didn't have crazy bar minimums because we didn't have crazy overheads, because we didn't have crazy rents, because we were not in these top tier places. And so you start putting these venues, and now we're at the Bullpen and the Howard Theater if you're in DC. Like, and I'm just mentioning all these huge, large venues, Culture or AI, they all have huge minimums and overhead costs. And so those costs have to be passed on to the patrons. And so I think that like, and then, the gays want celebrities. Now, I have a bone to pick about celebrities. I hate that we always pick women who are not allies in our community, and
Same.
we don't book the gays in our own community, and we argue with
Same.
gays and the artists about their rates, but we'll drop $30K for a reality star to come sit and drink. I'm gonna leave that there.
I'm with you on that one. They don't even need to be at Pride. Like, what are they at
They don't
Pride
need to be at
for?
Pride. All
They
they
don't need
need
to be at Pride.
are gays.
Yes.
Money, and that's when we spend money. The money needs to be in our pockets. But like, I've gotten to a lot with promoters who would argue me down over paying me my rate, but would in the same party drop $30K for a reality star, someone who can't even perform, and expect me to do the heavy lifting of the whole party.
Yes.
While they just sit there for an hour and a half, mind you, they not staying for 3 hours, hour and a half, and they out. But so it's two sides to the story when it comes to why Pride has changed. Yes, gays want to be in the same venues, or not the same venues. We want to be in the A-list venues with the amazing sound, the amazing lighting, the amazing views. We want that. And to have that comes at a cost. And the promoters are not going to put that cost outside of their profits, eat their profits away to give us that benefit, because they could go to the other venues or the less desirable venues and give you that same party with the same DJs and all those things, but you don't want that. And, we went through that with promoters. I know, like, especially when day parties started to pick up between like 2015 and like 2019, when they became a thing, day parties require gorgeous venues because it was the daytime. Like, it wasn't dark in at night. You wanted rooftops. And so you get those venue prices and those venue drinks, and promoters don't set drink prices. So, it's the trade-off to Pride. And now that Pride is so big, Pride into DC in 2014, it may have been 5 or 6 parties the whole weekend, right? Like maybe a competing party, 2 parties on Saturday night, and but it was a lineup of like 6 or 7 parties for the entire weekend. Pride in DC is now, there are at any given moment from Thursday until Monday in 24 hours, we're talking from 4 p.m. until 4 or 5 in the morning, there are at least 4 parties. At least.
You need a spreadsheet.
You need spreadsheets to understand like what is really happening here. And that is just for the men. There's a lesbian side of it. And then there's like the after hours, and there's the house after hours, the circuit after hours, the hip hop after hours. And like, there's all these things at all these venues. And now these venues are also aware of these weekends and the amount of money that's coming through. So they're increasing the minimum to have these spaces, to, rent these spaces. So it's I don't think it's one person. There is a little bit of greed in it. There is a little bit of that, there's all of that. But it comes with the territory of the change. If Pride is no longer in predominantly gay spaces and less desirable venues, elite or less expensive venues, we're now in the largest venues in the city, in the most desirable places. And then you have to remember, it's one of the most desirable weekends. It's Memorial Day weekend. Yeah. So gays are not just competing with the gays anymore. They're competing with not just straight people anymore. Mm-hmm. You are competing with your West African parties. Your Afrobeats, your piano parties. Mm-hmm. They have that weekend too now. The Latin in DC, they have like a double DC. With Pedro Knight, he has this whole Latin thing and like a Caribbean feel, and that's his whole following. And then you still have white people, and you still have your Asian, predominantly Asian, and then I even think about like your Persian, your Middle Eastern, like they still have their huge parties. And so the gays didn't just grow in the past 10 years or so. All of the other small demographics also did. The thing that did not grow is DC. And so we're speaking about Pride, then that's why it's more expensive, and that's why it's more competitive, and it's harder every year to get into these venues, because it's just grown to something that is just entirely so large. And it's not really just DC anymore that experiences this.
It's everywhere.
It's almost every major city. Probably the only cities that don't really see these issues are maybe New York, because it can handle you in capacity to do stuff like that. But any place that's in the South, Dallas is now dealing with Juneteenth, being a pseudo pride thing, which Juneteenth has been going on for 30 years, and Dallas Pride is not Juneteenth weekend, white pride or general pride, and black pride is in the fall when it's cool. So it's like it's all these things, and people are trying to manage it, but there is a cost that comes along with it, and it's going to get passed over. So if the guys want to get back to partying and dance floors, then they got to step away from wanting the bottle service and the sections and the super gorgeous venues. You don't
Mm.
at the same cost. It just doesn't happen that way.
I feel like I'm so happy, and I thank you for breaking it down the way you did. I feel like I have a little bit more empathy now because I feel like I was thinking to myself that and I would say I feel like DC Black Pride is a time we recommend everybody goes at least once in their lifetime. It's a great time. It's always so much fun. You meet people from everywhere. But I always tell people that the reason why I love Atlanta Black Pride as well is because you there's something, it doesn't feel like it's trying to be extra performative. It doesn't feel like, I know some people are greedy or whatever, but it feels like, you can find, and I think even with me, I just started my own creative. I feel like I don't like to come as a promoter because I feel like that's a little, I don't want to box myself in that. But I feel like my goal is to curate more spaces in Minnesota and the Twin Cities area for Black queer people. So it could be a showcase, a theatrical showcase. It could be a nightlife party.
A creative curator.
Yes, a creative curator. Yes, exactly. And so we'll have like different series. We have the nightlife series that you're coming for. We have all these things and trying to make it accessible. And I get it. Like venue, even in Minneapolis here, it's still hard. You have to cover minimums. If you want the premium venues, which I cannot afford, you have to pay your price as well.
Or take
Yeah.
that risk on ticket sales and yes. So
You know what I'm saying? But I also feel like our theme throughout this conversation, joy is what moves us through as Black queer people. We're dealing with a lot. We're carrying a lot of trauma, a lot of, the joy. The dance floor is supposed to be for everybody. You know what I'm saying? That is where
we don't have dance floors. That's the problem. Most movies you book today don't have dance floors. Like that's typically the hardest thing when I'm trying to find you is like, can y'all show me pictures of the dance floor? And they're like, people just dance around the bar. And babe, this is a bar. This is not a club.
I remember I went to a party in Houston. I think it was 2025. I think it was like Houston Black Pride. And the party, I got into the venue and it was all sections. I'm not even exaggerating. It was all sections.
Houston is the worst. Houston and Atlanta are the worst when it comes to sections.
It's just like, bro, where am I supposed to dance? I don't want a section. I'm just here by myself. I came here alone.
Awkward to not have a section.
Yes, and then I'm now standing awkwardly by the bar, and I can't even really dance because nobody's dancing. Everybody's just in the section or getting a drink.
Well, if I can't get a section, then I can't have a good time. I can't go to no party without a section. And I'm like, well, if you need somewhere to sit down, you age out the club.
I am screaming. But TRYFE, yes, from the Met Gala after party, and now you're coming to Minneapolis to perform and DJ at Indigo Room, the Pride Month edition. How you feeling about, being in the Midwest and coming to, party with the Black queer folks of our city?
I'm very excited to be in Minneapolis. I'm very excited to be at the Indigo Room. And for me, over my career, I've seen prides grow. So, when I started, there was Miami Splash, DC Pride was kind of a thing, and like Houston kind of had something going on, but that was pretty much it. LA had a little something, and obviously everybody was going to Atlanta, right? Atlanta and Miami were the hot spots for Pride, but you didn't really see huge Pride celebrations in places like Philly or Baltimore, Dallas, the Carolinas, Chicago, Minneapolis, and Vegas. But now you are. And so even like Boston has Frolic Weekend, and I think, Dallas is now grown. Even Juneteenth is like its own pride thing. And I think that Minneapolis is at its like crest, where it is going to be a destination that people are also going to want to go to, especially if you're in the Midwest, because you typically really just have Chicago. And their pride isn't really that huge. And so I think that like coming to Minneapolis is going to be one of the best things on being at the forefront of a pride growing into a national phenomenon and not just something that people locally do. And I think that you guys, especially with the work that you're doing, I see the path in it being a destination for the year for everybody else. And I mentioned Frolic because, I think I went out there the second year that those guys did it.
Yeah.
It was just some weekend and some, outside of Boston. And it's like, I'm going to Boston for Pride. People are like, what? It's like me saying I'm going to Minneapolis right now. And they were like, what? You're going to Minneapolis? And I'm just like, oh, you wait. Or even during the pandemic when I was like, I'm going to Dallas. And people were like, Dallas for Pride? Texas? In the South? And I think that's where Minneapolis is. So that's what like makes me most excited is that we as a community in the United States, we're building our own network and our own schedule of prides. And now you have, PV, where the gays are like, we're going down to PV this weekend for a certain weekend. So I think you and your team are adding this another piece of this puzzle. And I think a couple years from now, we're going to look up and the spreadsheets that we see are going to grow to like national spreadsheets. It's like there's a spreadsheet per city, per weekend. It's like, you know what? The schedule for prides this year is, I think Philly always starts first in April. It's like, it's Philly in April, and then we're in DC. And then we go to Dallas, we do Minneapolis, we do Chicago, all those things. We do New York. And like, that is the gay summer. And it's like, if you want to do gay summer, this is how you do it. So I'm super excited about that. I'm super excited about Minneapolis putting their foot down and stamping and standing up and waving their flag in the U.S. and saying, hey, we are too a destination. And locally, the girls, the gays, the bays have a place to kind of come together and feel seen and feel proud. And it's not just a party on Saturday night. It's a whole weekend. And celebrities and like, I'm the beginning. I start going, other people bigger than me are looking, they're seeing, and they're all going to start to converge on this area, especially you start to see the social media influencer that will start to look and say, oh, the girls are descending upon Minneapolis this week. That's the weekend that I need to be there. And so I'm excited about the party part, but me being the Aquarian humanitarian that I am, I see where it can go and why I've watched and been actively a part of all these other prides. And like, Minneapolis has nothing like this. And you know this because you're curating it here. Like, it like this, the closest thing you may get to it is Chicago. Like, none of the big Ohio, Kansas City, St. Louis, like none of them within a few hours are have prides that are recognizable or that people actually are traveling to.
Especially for Black people, yes.
Yeah. No, and Black people this year, I think this year and last year is the first year that Black people are starting to travel for Chicago. So, it can happen very fast. I mean, Frolic no one knew about Frolic 3 years ago. Or that area outside of Boston. And now it's a well-known thing. Like, about Frolic Weekend and you've never even probably been to Boston. Like, but you know it. And that's where Minneapolis is headed. So I'm excited to be at the beginning of something that's going to turn out. And then the DJs locally, I'm really excited to meet the DJs because being able to connect with them, then I'm now connected and I can now pull them into other cities. And that's a huge thing that I do when I get to other cities, especially with my company. I get to meet DJs and I get to hear them and I get to say, you know what? I think you should come and play in DC, which is a huge thing that I do. So I'll hear a DJ and I can book you at Thirst. But I also have great relationships with all the DC promoters. And so if you're going to be at Thirst this weekend, we can also put you there. But it's sharing our sounds, it's sharing our music, it's sharing the way we party, and it's like blending and it's community. And so, yes, it's a party, right? Yes. But us traveling and connecting is what's going to bring Minneapolis outside and bring us there and kind of just continue to build this network that we have. And when you start seeing the other parties like Boozy Bounce and Posh and Escape add Minneapolis to their stop, you pick it up.
We did something, yeah. And it's funny you mentioned Frolic because I spoke to Lamb on this podcast season 1 because I was also very inspired by the work that he did with Frolic, and now it's Frolic Weekend. And I think that for me, as someone who moved to Minneapolis in 2021, I think when I got here, a lot of people will tell me when I would travel to Atlanta or DC or New York, folks will be like, "Oh, I used to live in Minneapolis, but I left. I couldn't find community. I couldn't find, Black queer folks, And I know that it took me a while. Also, I'm not even gonna pretend. It took me like a year to start to make networks and form people, and I'm like that. Yes, we are small, we're a growing community, but if we keep building our communities together, we can find a way to keep people, who may like living here but may not have community or may have to be here for work or whatever or school. Find them a network of people they can get to know and build that community infrastructure, that is needed. Because like I feel like right now, community is important with the way the world is going, with all that's going on.
Very
It's
important.
important. It's important, and also like even with Indigo Room, that we are also doing connection to care work. So we're doing it with a local nonprofit who is going to come and try and get people connected to PrEP because of the numbers are alarming. How do you feel
It's
about
shocking to me that PrEP has is struggling to get the adoption
that?
that where it should be. I mean, I'll share. I've been on PrEP for 11 years. I started PrEP in 2014 or 15. Someone I was dating at the time, we found out that that person was HIV positive, and so it was very scary because it was like, oh my God, like our relationship is over. I may also have HIV. And that wasn't the case in either situation. I was able to walk away from that. And then we were also able to continue to stay together. And I remember going to the doctor in 2014, which I had to change my doctor because I was like, I want to do this PrEP thing. And she was like, what's that? And I'm like, I'm a Black gay man going to you. And I had to tell her about it and do my research on it and tell her about the schedule of the labs and how it all works to get it.
Wow.
And I mean, that was 10, 11 years ago, right? It's not that bad today, but it is that way within our community. Most people don't understand that, you could take a pill every day. You can get a shot once a quarter now. There are a lot of things that can protect you. And I think if we can help with that awareness, we also can help with the stigma when it comes to dating. Because I typically don't even ask people their status anymore, in dating. I don't. I ask them, if they are positive, do you know your T cell levels? If you know that, good. That means you are medicated. But it's not a death sentence anymore. You can protect yourself. Other people can protect themselves. You can even be positive and live a super healthy, super long life. You can make sure that your immune system is doing well. So I don't understand it, but I'm pretty sure that that's my understanding is a product of my environment and my community.
Yeah.
And yeah, all of my friends, I remember I made a joke. One of my friends came over the house earlier today and I was joking with him. I was like, I can't go to the doctor's office after Pride weekend because I walked into the doctor's office to do my my labs and I saw all the girls sitting in the office. And I was like, and it was funny to me because yes, this is exactly what we want to see, right? And this is
Yes.
exactly what we want to see everybody taking care of their health. We want to see people getting checked out after maybe having a fun weekend. This is exactly what we want to see, but that's limited to an area like DC, which leans more educated and leans more into people who have 9 to 5, which means they have better health care
Insurance.
and
Yeah.
insurance and all those things, right? So that is it's more standard here and normal in the
Yeah.
DC area. But when you get to other cities and especially hanging out in Texas, I, I live mostly there now. And, I'll go to parties and I'm speaking to people and they're just not as in tune into politics. They're not in tune into healthcare matters, and the stigma around a lot of infectious diseases is still there. And it's
Yeah.
just, I don't want to use the word ignorance because it can't imply that you are just stupid or willfully didn't look, but some people are just uninformed
Yeah.
and haven't had the ability to be informed because if they would feel a lot more comfortable with things.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like where I am now, what I learned 10, 11 years ago has changed me to where, I obviously will have those conversations in a relationship, but your HIV status has nothing to do with our relationship. and us getting
Yeah.
together and a long-term relationship, you know. And I think in my early 20s, I was like, I would never date anybody with HIV. I would never blah, 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 blah. But like, that's not the case today. I would 100%
Yeah.
be in a relationship with somebody who had HIV.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why even like the org, Aliveness Project, who's doing the party with us, you know, they, whether you have, you know, we try our best to see everybody who is in community, try I guess to make sure that PrEP is accessible to everyone, you know. And I think that that's like I feel like with my work, I think that that's the thing that I want to always hold on to. Back in the day when I was younger, uh, I would go to parties in Nigeria. The gay parties were always underground because, you know, it was illegal, you
Yes.
know. And so you go to those parties, but the folks doing HIV advocacy will be there. They'll be there doing testing. They'll be there trying to connect people to care. And I feel like with the numbers not moving, we're at over 30% of new HIV cases in the country. We have the lowest demographic of folks who are on PrEP right now in America. And so it's like, how do we bridge that gap between, you know,
And I don't even know if it's something that we could do locally, because this is actually, we're being attacked in this sense at a national level. You
mm-hmm,
know, government is constantly removing HIV funds and HIV prevention, not just here, but elsewhere
mm-hmm,
in the world. I mean, they've made healthcare, our Affordable Care Act, healthcare has doubled. It's went up 200% this year because, you know, our Congress failed to act on those subsidies. So there is stuff we can do, yes, to connect people with care, but even the care that people we can connect them with is starting to be limited. And getting on your PrEP labs doesn't necessarily, just getting on PrEP doesn't mean you just get to take this pill every day. You also need labs every 3 months, which come at a cost, or you got to go to a provider to get that. What we've also seen is that when people get on PrEP, they typically have a spike in STI infections because they're now no longer using condoms as much as they would in past sexual experiences. And so that presents a new cost of how do you go get care and treatment for that? And even those with health insurance, like if I walk into my doctor's office today and I say, I want to get tested, they most likely will charge me. The charge is actually more expensive because you're just asking for labs to
mm-hmm.
be ran. Most insurance will not cover that. But if you go in and say, I have symptoms, that's covered, you know? So it's tricky. Like healthcare is really tricky, and it's really just a thing that's really only tricky here in the United States when it comes to comparable countries. So I
Mm-hmm.
think we kind of got to fight it. We got to fight it from both ends. We have
Yeah.
to fight locally with the stigma and with connecting people to the care that's available. But we
Mm-hmm.
also kind of got to get down there to Washington and to
Mm-hmm.
our local capitals, because that's where that funding is coming from. And that's where those clinics that are being closed and places like Whitman Walker that were getting all this funding, their funding is being shut down. So, you know, a little bit of both. I have a weird thing about being tested at the club. Like I like the idea of meeting people where they are. I
Yeah.
agree. I me, speaking for
Yeah.
me, I
Yeah.
would not want to know my results while I'm walking in the club.
Yeah, for sure. Like even at our party, we're not doing tested at the party because we're like, okay, nobody wants to come to a party and know that, you know, we also don't have like counselors if say you're positive to help you navigate that. But what we can do is get you to set up an appointment. So you come to the party and you're like, you meet someone from this organization who's doing this great work when it comes to HIV care in the city, and they let you know what you can get. You can get on whether it's the pill, you can get on the injection, whether it's the 6 months or the twice a year or the every 3 months injection. You can whatever it is you need. We'll connect you to care. You sign, you fill out a form, and we'll reach out to you so that you're like, okay, fine. You come in, you're having a good time, you get connected to care. At least you have the
Okay.
idea.
Okay,
Yeah,
y'all got it right. Y'all got the down, because
yeah.
what I remember as a kid, they was like, "Well, if you go get tested, you get a free drink," and I'm like, "That drink ain't worth my peace of mind tonight. I'm gonna go have a good time, and I'll see y'all later." Because, and you know, if you do have something, it's like it's
Yeah.
weird to call back, because like if they call you to come in, they don't want to call every single person they tested. They're typically only going to call people that are positive. So if your
Yes.
phone, you already know what it is, and then
Isn't
you
it?
don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So I really like that idea of setting
Yes.
people up, setting up appointments.
Yes.
I
That's
have
all we're doing. Yeah. We're not
I've
testing
always
people at the
said we
pub.
should probably do something more like a festival style thing, like a health festival where it's like all the booths are like all the different doctors and stuff. Like you can go get you an eye exam, you can go get you a little this, you can get you a cleaning,
Like a
like
wellness festival, I'm
yeah, it's like a
down.
wellness, and like these doctors come in and you pay like a fee, like it's like $100 or $200 or whatever, but you can come in and you get all this work done, and
Mm-hmm.
you can get like your eye exam, a dental cleaning, you can get your blood work ran, you can just get you a physical ran. You know, all these little appointments take like really in front of a doctor 30-40 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But we're out here all day, we got a whole bunch of doctors, and you just doing your thing, and we send all the results and stuff afterwards.
And we got a DJ playing. We got DJ
Yeah, like,
playing. We got some
it's
food
just a good time.
vendors.
Yeah, it's a good time. And then
Yeah.
like you make an appointment to maybe digitally or in person, you know, and you just kind of they go through all of your things.
Yeah.
You know, not just whatever. You go through everything that you went through that day.
Yeah.
They typically you don't need the doctor you saw to go through that. You just really need like a nurse practitioner who's can read all the stuff and just like
Yeah.
you and I are here and just kind of go through your wellness. And I feel like people would do that and have a little fun and community versus
Yeah.
setting all those different appointments up. I mean, how many appointments do you go through a year? Just my eye doctor, my dentist, between my prep labs. I'm probably in a doctor's office, maybe in my dermatologist, maybe
Yeah.
7 to 10 times a year, on average, almost once a month or
For
every 40.
me, I also have to go for like my asthma check because I got asthma. I got to go get my braces checked. I got an orthodontist appointment. I
Yeah,
got
and that's every like 2 or 3 weeks. Like I've been through orthodontics care like that. It's
yeah.
it's a lot. So some people don't know how to manage that, and if you don't have health insurance, you damn sure aren't managing that. And I didn't really realize how cumbersome it was until I became a full-time creator,
Mm,
and I had to figure out navigate
your own
insurance.
insurance. Yeah.
Yes, and it wasn't just like, your health insurance, your vision insurance, your dental insurance, and it's like all the prescriptions and like the copays, and you forget that like the amazing companies that you work for negotiated way better deals than like what you're going to get on your own. So you got to take a lot of that care into your own hands. And I think that like if you work a non-corporate job or a job that doesn't have all those benefits or something like that, that becomes daunting outside of just your regular work. Like there's no central place for you to just go. Like if you go to like Europe or like Turkey or Asia, they have like hospital malls. Like it's a mall and like
Mm-hmm.
make an appointment that day for a full everything. Ears, eyes, nose, and like you just spend your day there like at a spa in your robe and they just sifting you through like we don't have anything like that here. And I think
Yeah.
like if we could create something for the black gays that's similar where it's like it's your health day. Like we just
It's a
going
health day.
I'm
Health
taking a
and
health
wellness day.
like a health and
Derma
wellness
even.
day. Like make it cute.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm curious. This is such a great conversation, by the way. I feel like I could talk to you for hours. But I wanna, knowing all that you know now about the intention behind what we're doing. How do you feel about what we're doing in community on June 20th, and what are the people gonna expect when they're coming and experience hearing you play and perform? So it's a two-in-one question.
Well, I mean, now that I know what you guys are doing, I'm even more excited about just being there and being in the room and being around the community in Minneapolis. What can people expect? Well, first, I want to call out my trans girlies. I want to see you front and center. I want to see my J setting girls or boys, or theys. If you got a little set in your spirit, if you are, you might need to, I share my fan, the girls that got their wigs on, the girls with wigs. If I see you need a little fan, I got you. I'll pick the fan up, give it to you. For me, it's about all of us being seen and it's about all of us being celebrated. So bring your fan, bring your dance. If you are a twerker, if you want to be twerked upon, like bring what you got and give it to us. That is where I'm at. Bring what you got and give it to us so that we can have a good time and make space and let's celebrate other people. So if we do have a West African moment or we do have a Caribbean moment and you may not know it too well, but you see somebody who does, look at what they're doing and get you a piece of that. Like, get in and get you some. So I want all of my they, them girlies, my trans girlies, my J-setting girlies. I want you to come out and I want you to be seen. I want you to have a good time. I don't want anybody to be scared or to feel like, well, I can't do this dance or I can't do that, because we are doing a little something for everybody. We're going to slide through the Caribbean. We're going to have a little Latin music because I'm a little Latin. We're going to touch West Africa. We're going to be on the East Coast because I lived on the East Coast. And, we're going down South because I'm from the South. So we just going to do a little bit of this and that. And I really want people to feel seen and to feel like you can be and do whatever you want to do. Now, when it comes to dressing, I know some people are like, well, what do you wear to Pride? And I'm like, whatever makes you prideful. But me, there's two things I'm typically going to wear. One is white. I love white. I'm always going to be dripped in it from head to toe. Or I'm going to be in something very sparkly, okay? Very twinkly, okay? Lots of diamonds and pearls. Lots of rhinestones and things. And see, I was twinkling before Renaissance, okay? Before twinkling became popular on social media and trickled down into your rainbows and your city trends, I was twinkling. And so you got to twinkle. If you want to twinkle, you can twinkle. Because, thank you, boo. Okay. I was in the White House. I was twinkling in front of 9 million people streaming on all major networks, okay? So, and I was loved for it.
Yeah.
And you will be too.
Okay. I want to talk about the major things that have happened to you in your career over the past couple of years. You did the White House performance. You did the Kamala Harris rally in Houston. You did a Met Gala after party. Take me through these big moments in your career. What has that been like for you? And what have you learned from just being sharing your gifts with millions of people through those platforms?
Those really big moments have all, in true TRYFE fashion, they came out of nowhere. I've had a matter of days to prepare for every single last one of them. Just so you know. Hours in some sense. The big events reaffirm my gift and reaffirm what I came here to do, because I didn't apply to those. My management didn't like. The Met Gala is a different story. That's different. But the other big things, we didn't send applications. We didn't send emails. We didn't request. We didn't ask for time for people. They reached out to us. And right? That's absolutely crazy, but it affirmed to me what I came to do with my talent. The White House thing, first, how I originally started is I was asked to do Kamala Harris's Pride event. She had a Pride event like 2 weeks before the White House event. Actually, I got to take a step back of where it all came from. April of 2024, I played at the Swiss ambassador's house. He had every year he does this White House Correspondents' Dinner after party. And I was so nervous right after my dad died, and I actually was going to say no. It was 2 months after he died. They reached out a month before. So it was like weeks. I think I was the week I had buried my dad, and I was like, I'm not really in the mood for that. And my manager was like, I think you should do it. Like, you really should do this. Like, you should just go. So I get to the party, and a week before the party starts, we get a call. And the coordinators are like, so there's someone who wants to do a set with TRYFE for like an hour. Are you guys aware of a Jermaine Dupree? So, we're like, I'll be like, bitch, what? And I'm saying, you better for you. Yeah. And they were like, he wants to hop on, do like an hour, but like, we didn't know how TRYFE would feel about giving up an hour of his time. And I'm like, I don't have no choice in the matter to be with you. Like, so I do this party. I'm nervous. Like, I'm so concerned with impressing Jermaine. Like, my whole set, the way I prepared was to impress Jermaine Dupree. He walks in with Dallas Austin and he hops on the wheels. We're standing there. We get the photos. We do the set. And I'm just so concerned with impressing him. We leave the party and I'm hoping that like somebody from, because Live Nation was there, and I'm like, oh, I want to give it Live Nation, like trying to get on, like I'm trying to get on. And we get this call from Kamala Harris's staff who was there. And they were like, we would love to have TRYFE do the Pride party at the vice president's home. And I'm like, shit, I'm so concerned with this. And like, this was lining up for me. And so they reach out and they were like, okay, we're working through a couple other people. We'll let you know. And so they come back and they say that they decide to go in another direction. And I was like, damn. And then I see the Pride Party happen. It was like the first weekend of June. And after the party, and then I was supposed to get invited to the party, and I didn't even get that. And so I was just like bummed. It was about the weekend we met.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody from the White House staff had came to Thirst and heard me DJ. And they decided that they wanted me to play at the White House for Pride. I had no idea this was happening. So what ended up happening was on the back end, the White House staff had told the vice president, we're going to take TRYFE for the White House. And so you guys are going to have to find somebody else. And so the vice president's staff had said nothing to me. I had no idea what was happening. And this was also, again, because you and I are sitting here because of Thirst. They came to Thirst and heard me. And so the initial offer was because I decided to do that party at the Swiss ambassador's house. And that got me into the conversation. And then someone from the White House saw me and they both were considering me. And so the White House trumped, obviously, Joe Biden trumped Kamala and pulled me for the gig. And so after Kamala's event happened, I got the call to do the White House. And it was like,
Yeah.
So this is what we
Yeah.
So that day, my mom flew in, and it was so crazy to me because I've been to the White House before. I went, it's like one of my friends was interning, and he got me on like a White House tour list. But I always assumed that if I got to the White House, it would be with some company under some brand. But I was being invited to the White House to be what a few years ago I was scared to be. What I was not even proud to be. And being invited to be as a DJ, one, I just stopped working as a proud gay man, and to do it in sequence. And like, I remember the first time I wore a sequence, I was so scared. And I was like flabbergasted because life is so funny. The things that I used to be most embarrassed about, the things I used to hide, I was now being celebrated in that sense. And so, and they asked, how are you going to come? And I was like, can I drive? And they were like, yeah. Because at the time I still lived in DC. And I had just bought, this new car, and, it was a little sports car. And I just remember driving up to the White House and windows down. My mom was in the passenger seat, and security comes up and he's like, get your ID, and, real just. And he was like, you the DJ for today? And I was like, yeah. He was like, welcome to the White House. Like, they did the dogs and searched the car, did the whole thing. And like, I remember driving, the gates opened up, and I look at my mom, and we both look at each other like, this is really happening. Like,
You did that.
This is happening. Like, I'm driving onto the White House grounds as TRYFE. And we pull in, my team, they Ubered there because I wanted to drive. Like, we could have rolled in one car, but I just had to drive my car, and I didn't have a back seat. So sorry, but needed it, and they understood. So we get there, we go through security, and they're walking me through, they're giving me the tour. And shout out to Sydney Harvey. She was the one who put all that together for this and the rally. She was the White House chief engagement, like celebrity engagement officer. And she picks me up outside. We walk in, and they take me to my dressing room. And my dressing room is like, the door is here, and Michelle Obama's portrait is next to it. And I'm just like, and we open the door, I walk into my dressing room, and it's a spiral staircase that goes all the way down, and these 2 double vanities, like 8 vanities, bathrooms. There's 2 staff in there, food laid out. And like, this is your, like, I had hospitality staff that just stood there, that were just waiting. Are you hungry? Or do you want something to eat? Do you want something to drink? And like, a person comes in and gives me the history of the room, and they're like, this dressing room has been the same dressing room for B.B. King, for Beyonce, for Aretha Franklin. And it's like, and me, the first like DJ, I believe, in this room. Like, this is American history now. And like, my father literally, like my grandfather, like, they would never have imagined that I'm being invited. I'm getting dressed, and I was getting emotional. I'm crying because my mom was there. Michael, my my attorney, my management,
Mm-hmm.
photographer, videographer. Like I have this full entourage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also crazy because I'm telling them all these people that I have with me, and they're just like, okay. And I'm just like, oh, I guess it's an entourage. Like, okay. I'm getting dressed, and I have these. Lawrence, this guy I've been working with, does all of my custom stuff. I have these sequins. We go and buy the fabric, these gold sequins, high waist, bell bottom pants, and like this custom polo with the shawl, the custom gold shawl that sits over, looks like a sweater. It's like very polo classic, but it's TRYFE, right? And they walk me through to see everything, and they're like, we're looking through the rooms. Oh, here's the first lady, and I'm doing sound check, and they're like, the first lady's having a meeting in the room behind you. Just just so you know. And like, I turn around, and I'm like, and she's like, they take me to where I'm performing, and I'm on the portico steps, which is like the Olivia Pope balcony. If you just open the balcony on,
Yeah.
they're like, we've never had a DJ up here, so we're excited about that. And I'm like, I'm the first DJ in American history to DJ from here.
Mm-hmm.
Me, and the like the podiums are like wrapped in pride colors, and I'm just sitting there like, this is fucking crazy, because pride wasn't even like, gay wasn't even legal 10 years ago in the United States. So
Yeah.
this was not a dream to dream. This is not a prayer to pray, because it was not anywhere within the realm of my reality. And I remember doing the event, and then like when the event was over, it all felt surreal. So we get back, and like I remember I go out to like greet my friends and stuff, and I'm behind like the actual security barrier. And so Secret Service is following me around. And so I'm like, oh, can I go? They were like, you can stay behind the thing. And I'm like, what is happening? Afterwards, we go back inside because my dressing room is physically in the White House. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
in. We get done, the party is over, and it's just me and my mom. My team and everybody had left, and I look at Sydney. I'm just like, oh, my mom's never been in the White House before, like, and they were like, oh, just go look around, and I'm like, do I need an escort? And they're like, no, everyone knows where you are at all times. Like, trust you. You can. No one will not know where you are. Like, you will
Yeah.
be tracked. Obviously, there's tracking off to this building, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they just let me walk around. Like, my mom went into the Jackie Kennedy bathroom. We went into the blue room. We went to the library. We went into the ballroom. We took photos. Like, they were like, just don't walk up to the third floor to the residence. Like, outside of that, walk around. I'm like taking photos, and I'm so proud because the East Wing, that's been torn down. Those steps, that path that got torn out where Obama was running with the dog. I have a video of me running back and forth, and like they just let me just take photos and just hang out, and like me and my mom were just hanging out in the White House, just talking to people, and they were all like security, Secret Service, White House staff. Mr. Trife, we are so happy to have you. It
That
was
is,
it was it was definitely a dream. I'm very glad I got to share with my team because they've been with me on this journey. So
yeah.
I'm glad that my mom was there because you know my sexuality was a journey for us. Her coming to terms with that, and not her just coming to terms with it, but her supporting it. I did a Google Pride commercial, and she decided to be. They wanted to do a commercial with parents, and they were like, "If your parents can't come, we'll get actors." And my mom came. And my dad was willing to come too, but he was like, I'll let your mom do it. But he was down. He was actually mad when I didn't tell him. But my mom doesn't just support me in theory. She like supports me in practice, and she's there with me. And because of that, she also gets to share some of the amazing moments. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
So that it was life changing. It was very humbling. It was very affirmative. It just reminded me of like, you are here to be yourself, and you being you is what's going to continue to bless you. That's what's going to continue to open doors. Being your big, beautiful, gay, black, Caribbean, Spanish, just being all of yourself and showing up as authentically as you can is going to propel you. And
Mm-hmm.
so the biggest events I've done have been when I started showing up and dressing and performing for me, and not being concerned if I look gay, or this outfit it looks like it's too much. Like,
Yeah.
that's when things started to roll. The rally. You asked me about how the rally
Yeah.
came. So Sydney Harvey, she left the White House to join the Kamala Harris campaign, and they started planning the rallies. And the Houston rally was planned to be the largest one, not just for her campaign, but in American history, and also for the state of Texas, also for Democrats, because Democrats never had rallies in Texas. And really, the current administration started the whole rally thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get a call on a Wednesday night. I'm sitting at the house, got my do-rag on. I'm a little depressed. I'm kind of sad because I'm still dealing with stuff with my family. And my siblings were kind of in turmoil. I really wasn't in a good place. And Sydney calls me and was like, "What are you doing Friday?" And I'm like, "Girl, don't play with me. What's going on?" Like,
What day was this? Was this a Thursday?
It was Wednesday night.
Oh, wow.
And I was, at the time, I was still in DC. And she was like, "What are you doing Friday?" And I'm just like, "Nothing. Probably I'm being thirsty. Like, what's going on?" "Well, we're doing a rally and, we're thinking about having a DJ." And I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "I just want to see if you were available." And I'm like, "I'm available." And she was like, "Okay, I'll get back to you." I was okay, cool. Like 30 minutes later, she calls me back and she was like, "Okay, so I can give you a little bit more information." And I can tell you this information now because she was like, "So we're doing this rally," and I was like, "Huh?" She was like, "But if this leaks, you will not do this thing." And she was like, "If it leaks beyond your team, like, you will not do this thing." So she was like, "I would suggest that you only mention this to people that like," so it was just Nefertiti, my manager, and I were the only people we knew. I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell anybody. So, because it wasn't even confirmed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Wednesday, they were like, "Okay, well, so what's going to happen is if it's confirmed, you'll fly here tomorrow night. No, you'll fly here Friday morning and we'll do the rally and that other artist may come speak." That's the thing. And I'm like, "Okay, cool. Fine." And I'm thinking it's going to be like an arena, like a basketball arena or something, because that's where all the other rallies, the one with Megan Thee Stallion. Glow was after she was scheduled, but she hadn't been announced yet. But I knew what and they were at arena. So I was like, "Okay, cool." So they texted me back Wednesday night and were like, "We're good to go." Like, that's all I got was, "It's happening." I was like, "Okay. What do I wear? Like, what do I play? Like, I don't know." Like,
Mm-hmm.
they gave me nothing, like nothing. So I wake up Thursday morning and they're like, "Oh, well, the artist that can't be named is having a sound check earlier. And so we need you to do your sound check at 8 a.m. And I'm like, "Okay, cool. But there are no flights that can get me there to Houston unless it's a private flight." And they weren't paying for that. So they were like, "Well, so we need you here today." Today? And they were like, yeah. You need to get to Houston like today. So they found flights for me, the very last flight out of DC to Houston. And I ran into my closet and all that sequin stuff I just had sitting in my closet because it's me, right?
You pulled out the sequence.
Because I got it, right? Like, that jacket, I bought it off a street vendor, this woman who made these sequence Howard jackets during homecoming like 3 years ago for $200. And she was selling them on the street and they weren't selling because everyone was seeing these sequence Howard Letterman jackets and thought they were absolutely crazy. And like, they were tacky. And I looked at it and I was like, "I need that." And it's been in my closet. And then the other jacket I had, which was like a jean jacket that was sequence, it was a cowboy jacket, is a designer called Ron David. He has a store in New York, DC, and one in Atlanta. It's one of his jackets. It was a sample piece that he did that he never sold, that he let me borrow, that I had not given back. And it was so I was like, "Well, we just need options because the jacket looks perfect. I got my cowboy hat, but it's supposed to be 90 degrees. And that jacket was an actual jacket, like with lining, like a coat."
Yeah.
And I was like, "I don't know about that, but whatever." So I threw this stuff in my suitcase and we got to Houston that night. We landed at 1 a.m. 1 a.m. We landed in Houston. I had to be in the stadium by 7:30. And I walked into the stadium and I was Googling on the way there. Like, I was like, "Hey, where are we going?" I'm asking the driver and they tell me the stadium. And I Googled the stadium and it's like a soccer stadium. What's the capacity? And it's like 20 something thousand. And I like asked the staff, I was like, the capacity says 20 something thousand. Are we going to have all of that? And she was like, oh, we're going to pack another 10,000 on the floor, honey. And I was like, 30,000 people. Okay. I think this might be my largest crowd. Like, no pressure. We go to the sound check, and then even that went viral. So I randomly decided to soundtrack with Before I Let You Go, the Beyonce version. And I was playing around with the stems, and I just had the vocals. Me being my first time in the stadium and not thinking anything of it, like, I didn't realize that you hear Beyonce's voice, just her voice, screaming over the stadium. And like, pure accident. Like, I just wasn't thinking. And I get back to my hotel, and like, it's going viral that Beyonce is sound checking in the stadium. Now, Beyonce would never sound check over live speakers. Like, she would never do that. Like,
yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go like respond to people on Twitter and stuff and be like, no, that's me. Like, please, because I do not want the queen. Fuck me.
Yeah.
I love Beyonce. Just picked a song I loved, I thought was neutral, and I was just sound checking. And I wanted to see like how my isolations and stuff were working. Had no idea. We got back to the hotel, and then me and my team sat, Michael and Nefertiti, we sat for 3 hours, and we went through every single song, every single lyric, and every single artist that was played. We thought about them politically. We thought about them, what they stood for, how the public sees them. Thought about the lyrics. We thought about clean versions, dirty versions. Like, we went through it all, like 3 hours. We went through every song. I put together a list of what I thought would work, and then we sat down and went through every part of it, of every song in the background. Like, I remember the Glorilla. Like, we was like, I played it exactly on 7 p.m. Friday in the stadium, and I remember we sat there for 30 minutes arguing over, can you play Glorilla at the vice president's rally? But I'm like, Glorilla is booked for the next rally. Like, she is not known, but she's booked.
Yeah.
So Megan Thee Stallion, I mean, Megan was just shaking her ass in the last arena. So, and the first song I started with, we were like, what do you start with? And I was like, I'm going to start in California, because the vice president's from California.
Yeah.
Blow the whistle. And I was like, the way the audience responds will tell me what I can do next. And so, like, what's my favorite word? And I broke the music, and I heard the audience go, bitch. I said,
these are your kind of people right there.
We're ready to go. We're going to have a great time. Like, we're going to have a time. So I knocked the first set off, and then I go backstage, and they were like, we want you to come out and do a second set. And I was just like, what? Okay. And so I had the second jacket, the Howard Letterman jacket. And they was like, you got to put it on. Like, you got to put it on. And by this time, the sun had went down, and everyone was waiting on Beyonce. Like, the world was waiting for Beyonce. My second set was literally right before she came out. And so now I, also say that I opened up for Beyonce, because I did. Right. Yeah. So I come out in the jacket, and at this point, all the news cameras is live. Like, they're live on TikTok. All major networks are live. And I'm live on all major networks in the United States. There are 9.5 million people on the streaming services between TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and I have no idea that this is happening. I have no idea that I'm live on TV. I have no idea that any of this is going on. I walk into the stadium, and the sound and lighting people, when I came off the first time, they were like, you were amazing. We're going to back you up this time. And I had no idea what that meant. So I walk out. Next thing you know, all the stadium lighting is on me, and they turned the stadium into a club. And now I'm on the screen, because originally I was just background music. Like, I wasn't, I'm on the screen. And so I look at my manager, and Sydney standing there, and I was like, I look like a star. And my manager goes, you are a star, baby. Go ahead. You are a star. And I was like, trying not to cry and not get emotional, because like, I'm standing in the middle of 33,000 people. And I had no idea I was on TV and all the other stuff. And I'm opening. Beyonce is literally minutes to the stage. Like, I saw her staging when I came out. Like, Beyonce was standing right there. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's Beyonce, but it's also the vice president of the United States. Yeah. Also a house mom. Like, and you're in your home state of Texas, and you need to DJ for your life. And it just, I just walked out there, and once I got behind the wheels, I wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous anymore. I just wanted to have a good time. I wanted to get people excited about voting. I wanted to get people excited about change and this blue wave. And that's what I focused on. Like the music, we had already figured it out. We didn't know how I was going to play it. We cleared, I want to say 200 songs. So we had no idea what I was going to do or how I was going to do it. We just knew at least a range of what I could play. And the time of 200 songs is something like 3 days of music. So like I had enough time of music to get me through the gig. And I remember I got done, and I was the most exhausted I had ever been, like spiritually. Like I just felt so drained. I got to my hotel, and I woke up to my management calling me, and they were like, "The Houston Chronicle wants to do an interview and an expose with you. Like now, can you wake up?" I was like, "Huh?" And that's how it happened. And then Saturday morning, I ended up staying in Houston to hang out with some friends. But I felt sad in some moments because I just played the White House, the Swiss ambassador, and I opened up for Beyonce at the vice president's rally, the largest rally in American history. And I did that all within 6 months of my dad passing. And I was just like, Dad, like this little boy, Cuba,
yeah,
I
he did it for you, you know?
I get emotional because I was like, I wanted him to see that so bad. I wanted him to come to the White House with me and to experience the White House rolling out the red carpet for him. And like as an immigrant, I wanted him to experience that with me because you are me and I am you. So that was the bittersweet thing of the 24 because all of those things happened. And ironically, I still made it to the vice president's house because she had her annual Christmas party and I was invited.
That is amazing.
I was invited. So that December, she invited me, and I got to go and have cocktails and dinner and food and bites and hang out and tour the vice president's house. So I wasn't remiss. I still got to party at the vice president's house. It still ended just as it started. But talk about a hell of a 2024. And then I think my grandfather passed like days. He was on hospice care when I was at the vice president's house. And so 2024 was just one of those years where it's like these extreme highs and extreme lows.
Yeah.
And I accomplished some amazing things, and I got to touch a lot of people. Like that was the most people that I had ever got to touch and got to spread joy to. So it really affirmed to me, as I've said over and over again, what my journey is and what I came here to do. Because none of those events required me to prepare. I didn't even have time to prepare for those things. Not clothes, not the music, travel. All of those were literally hours, a day or two. And it just shows that like me and my raw form is what's going to get me the furthest in life.
Yeah, and I feel like not to bring it up again, but like I feel like I'm proof of that. I feel like not a lot of people I hear DJ. Maybe I was in my most vulnerable space at the time, which is why it sticks the most. But not a lot of people have imprints on you as you go along, and so you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're out there creating joy for people, and it has been evident in how your career has gone and how your 2024 went. The signs are all there. And so I feel like you should be very proud. And your dad and your grandpa and all these people, all your ancestors and the people who have left are with you, on you with this journey, and are celebrating your wins even wherever they are. So yeah, we should be very thankful. You should be very proud of all you've accomplished.
I am proud, and I speak to them. But, in my practice, I believe in speaking to my ancestors and having those conversations with them and remembering them and honoring them daily. So I do believe that they are close, and I do believe that they've had something to do with all of the amazing things that I've been able to accomplish and for the road that I'm on and for the doors that are opening up for me soon. And I believe that that's what's leading us together. I mean, we were both sharing the same emotional experience that that day.
Yeah.
And it brought us back together again 2 years later.
Yes.
And so, you know, who you had no idea that what I was going to accomplish later. I had no idea. I had
Yeah.
not done any of those things
Yeah.
when we met that day. I was just a guy DJing in a club, and
Yeah. You didn't know what I was going through. I didn't know what you were going through at the time. You know, we were just people. You
we were
know,
just people hanging out and
we were
having a
just
good.
people. You
I
know.
know about the Met.
Yes. Yes. How was that? How was that like for you during the after party?
So that was a long time coming. Now,
Okay.
I'll tell you that like most of the big stuff has come to me, but that one is something that Michael and Nefertiti fought hand, tooth, and nail for me.
Shout out to your team.
Yes, for years they have been pushing for me to get that. So Michael has done a lot of professional work with with Venus and Serena's team and their management with Isha Price Consulting. So he's had a more direct line to them. And I want to say in 2017 or 18, Isha, which is Venus and Serena's sister, the attorney of the family, the manager, the doer and the shaker behind the scenes that makes everything happen, the one that holds the keys to the kingdom. She does like parties at her home. She has a gorgeous home, and she does parties for their family, and they're really intimate. And like sometimes there are other celebrity friends, but it's 85% just their family. And so Michael got me the opportunity to DJ one of their house parties. And that was how I originally met them some years ago. And then after that, I had the opportunity to do Serena and Venus, her niece, or Isha, their niece, got married on Serena's property in Florida. And I got to do that wedding, I want to say about 5 years ago. And so I've been around and my team, well, I'll say I too, we've been begging for something less personal because I had a great time at the wedding. I had a great time at the house parties that I've done. And I think I did a boat party or something else, but these are intimate, private moments. I was never able to share those things or use those things to benefit my career, right? So as a DJ, we do a lot of work, but you know, sometimes you do want to use those things to help elevate yourself. So we have been trying and trying and trying and trying. And I was on the short list for both of Venus's weddings. But you know, it didn't materialize. And so after the weddings kind of didn't work out, Michael like went to V and was like, "You gonna buy something for trying to do?"
That is so cool.
He bummed about the weddings because they were in end of last year, into 2025.
Yeah.
American wedding, and they had a European wedding, and I didn't get. And I was just so bummed. And then it came out that she was the host of the Met Gala. And it was like, oh, that's interesting. And then it was like, all the hosts do their own after parties. And it was like, and so I would say Michael and Nefertiti, when I tell you they were on the phone with them probably every other week. And this is while they're dealing with their personal lives, all the things they have going on. You know, the DJ of an after party is not at the top of Venus's list. Like, she's off the Met Gala. So one, hosting, and two, her appearance and her styling and team. Like all of these things are way more important than her just partying afterwards, right?
Yeah.
But my team stayed on them about having me do that party. And we was shortlisted, I want to say, up until I got the call. I was in the airport the Monday before the Met, the week before, I got a call. Manager's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I know that what you're doing is you got something good. What is it? Tell me." I'm like, I'm walking through security, and she was like, "Do you have to get on that plane?" And I'm like, "Should I get off this plane?" Like, so they told me the news, and they absolutely had no details on anything: who, what, when, where, why, what other celebrity DJs would be there, who I'd be working with. Nothing. They just knew that you need to be in New York in a week. And I was leaving. I think I was heading to Texas. And that's how it came about. So I got home. I didn't buy my flight to New York until Friday night. And no, Saturday morning is when I bought my flight. I flew to New York Sunday morning, and I still had no confirmed details. Like, that's how fast everything was. The venue had changed 2 and 3 times. between Sunday and Monday. Sponsorships had kept changing. I didn't get confirmation of everything until 5 p.m. Like while the Met was happening, when people were on the internet talking about the outfits and stuff, that's when I finally got confirmed. So that day was an emotional roller coaster. Cause I'm pissed. I'm mad. I'm like, they treat me wrong, and my team ain't doing what they supposed to be doing because how am I here in New York and I don't have I didn't even get a hotel because I was like, I don't want to spend this money if this thing don't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed at one of my friends' houses. I'm sitting on my friend's couch and I'm like, and he's like, bro, chill, like, let's go get some drinks, like, let's go for a walk, like, calm down. But one thing I do want to say, and I will be remiss without mentioning, is Venus personally made sure that like I was happy and my team was happy. She called them the day of and was like, I just want to make sure TRYFE is happy. Like, I know there's been a lot of changes. I just want to make sure TRYFE is happy. When we walked into the party, originally my section was somewhere else. She moved it to where I was sitting with her.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up in Vogue. It's because I'm sitting next to her, and the Vogue photographers walk in, and they're like, and so instead of just getting my shot of me in the booth, right, I'm like now a socialite
You're a celebrity.
They're a celebrity, right? And I'm sitting there, like, we're both sitting on the booths, and like they come over, like, can we get photos? And I'm like, can we get? Like, can I take a photo with you?
Of course.
And even afterwards, like she called again and reached out to make sure that everything happened as I hoped it and dreamed it to be. There were 2 other DJs, and she told me I could start whenever I wanted. The party was supposed to go to 4 in the morning. And so I think I got on the wheels at like 1:30 in the morning, and we partied till 4. Like, she didn't leave. Serena didn't leave like till like 3:45, 4. I left after 4, but they called to make sure that I was happy, that everything that I needed was done, anything I requested for, anything. And even Isha Price Consulting, which their sister, but she's also the manager, but she's also, their business person. So outside of all the personal relationships, she constantly stayed in contact with my team, making sure that the payments were done, everything was taken care of. I was happy, making sure I was aware of the photos, the Vogue stuff. Like, the 2 times I've been in Vogue, this one and in Vogue weddings, was because of her making sure that when I did the wedding, that there were shots of me in the Vogue wedding. So I just like, the event was amazing. At the end of the day, it was just a party, right? Like, a lot of celebrities there, but it was just a celebrity party in New York. Like, it wasn't anything unique or special outside of like the rally of the White House or anything like that.
I'm sorry, but not everybody gets to perform at the Vogue after party hosted by Venus Williams. Not everybody. I don't know any DJs. I don't feel like they're handing it on to DJs across the street. So I'm like, yes, it was a celebrity after party, but still.
It was a party, like drinking party, nightclub, rinse and repeat. Like, it was a party. But the thing for me that stood out was how the level of care that was given to me.
Yeah.
And you could say I'm a celebrity DJ, you could say I've done all these things or whatever, but like, she is Venus Williams.
Mm-hmm.
She's the host of the Met Gala.
Yeah.
He was just having dinner with Beyonce and Anna Wintour at like Anna Wintour's home. Like, she did not have to give that level of care. And for her to do that, that is what stood out for her team, really. And for her family to give that level of care and that level of concern, that's what stood out to me the most from that event. And when I got home, is the thing I was most grateful for, because you don't see that in this industry, and you don't see that from people who have attained her status.
Yeah.
And for her to be that concerned about me and to care that I was taken care of, I was very grateful for that, because that's rare. Like, the big stuff, yes, I get that level of concern, but on a day-to-day, when it comes to just parties and flying, you don't always get that level of care. And I'm not saying the red carpet needs to be rolled out, but like, to make sure that you got there safely, that you got what you needed. Is there anything that you need before you get there? Before it starts rolling, like, just those small little things. And I know that that's not something they probably just did with me. I know that's something that's how they carry their business and how they work with the clients that they work with. And to me, that spoke volumes about that family, and about why the entire family, not just Phoenix and Serena, but even Isha and all the other sisters, while they're successful in their own respective lanes, is because how they operate in business.
Yeah, yeah. That's such a great story. You have such an amazing journey, and it's like there's so much more ahead in your future and in your career. Like it's just beautiful to see. So shout out to you for that. Shout out to your team, who you've been with for so long, who are intentional about curating these experiences for you to be a part of. Yeah, it's just amazing. I have a bunch of rapid fire questions for you before we
So
wrap up this interview. It's my podcast tradition. I gotta ask. So first one, what are the 3 songs that are currently on your playlist right now?
Duran Bernard's Sharp.
Okay,
I love when he says, if they try to humble you, you know they the ops.
real, real, real.
Doja Cat's, I'm gonna use 2 for 2 songs. Doja Cat's Gorgeous and Lip Stain. I don't know what it
Okay.
is about Lip Stain, but I love Lip Stain. And Gorgeous is just, when you have those days where you're just not feeling yourself, like I
Hmm.
can put that Gorgeous on and I'm just like,
Okay.
Carisha, Young Miami. Boosters, where y'all at? Where are the boosters? It's just so I hate how I got ran into the ground in DC over the summer. It's gonna get ran into the ground. I know I'm gonna
Yeah.
be like those are definitely like I'm walking into the gym, spin that like
Yeah. There's the Monaleo song. Oh my god, what's it called? Everything Pink. I forget
the
the name. Sorry? Yes, the one about that is like it's pink, it's like the check on it vibe. Yeah, I like that
yeah.
song too. Yeah, I feel like there's something about that song and Spend That. I feel like they were sisters. But
The,
yeah, that's just me. That's just me. What is a song that if let's say you're at a party and you want to get the dance floor popping, what's the song you play?
it depends on the dance floor.
Mm.
It
If
depends on the dance
if
floor.
it's a black
Give me
gay
tell me the audience. Tell me the audience.
audience is black, gay, 31 to 50.
Rihanna's Watch and Learn.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting.
Rihanna's Watch and Learn. Any Beyonce from any era. Upgrade You, Kitty Cat, Cozy. Yeah. I mean, I love Beyonce and like you typically what I like about her on the dance floor is she softens the gaze up. Like
Yeah.
when you play on the trap music, everybody's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
or when B comes on, you just be like, oh, hold on, wait. You
I
can
love Beyonce.
it's so hard. It's so hard, especially
Yeah.
like Renaissance. Like it is so hard to hold on to that butch hard energy when them beats drop. Like it's just hard.
Where Cozy starts on the dance floor, once Cozy starts, oh my god.
When you hear that, this a reminder. The whole room looks up at the booth like,
Hey,
we're going? We're going? Okay.
we're going there. We're going there for sure.
And it works. And I've always said it works not just in gay spaces. Like B works in straight spaces because it gets women going. And if women
Yeah.
are going, the men are happy. So I always tell people like if it's getting a little stale, grab B and we're gonna get rolling. Yeah.
Throwing some Beyonce right there.
Exactly.
Who's the dream artist you want to share a stage with?
I have multiples. I would love to be on stage with Meg
Okay.
because we built the same.
I can see that.
I would love to be on stage with Meg. I used to want to be on stage with B, but now I don't. Like I think that like I wouldn't even want to be compared to her on stage because I recognize like her stage presence is just like so far off the charts that like any person, even my faves that I've seen standing next to her on stage, always look less than. And I just don't put myself in that position. There's an Aquarian artist, I love my Aquarius. So Harry Styles. I love his style and I love his energy on stage and I would love to be on stage with him too.
Okay, so Meg and Harry Styles. Cool.
An Aquarian trifecta.
Okay. Would you rather go to the Howard Homecoming or go to Black Pride in DC? If you had to choose one, which one will you choose?
Can I change my mind the next year?
I'm just trying to be messy. Don't mind me.
No, Howard Pride. Look, Howard Pride. I will throw a gay
A
party.
party.
Boom. And I'll
So a
get both.
private party at the Howard Homecoming. That's the way to
Correct.
go.
But I'll get both.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit good friends at Lavender Lounge. They're not Lavender Lounge, the Lavender Fund. They're
Okay.
the first LGBTQ fund and organization at Howard. So I'm gonna hit them up and we're gonna do a party and I'm gonna get my 2 for 1.
Shout out to that. Shout out to that. What is one album you think everybody should own?
Thriller.
Okay. That's a good one.
Thriller. I mean, like the audacity of Michael Jackson to put that many hits on one project. Like that project is 45 years old almost. Like it's inching towards 50 years. And my 8-year-old nephew gets in the car and be like, play beat it. And I'm just like, what?
What you know about Thriller?
What do you know about it? What? But when you it's what him and Quincy Jones did, like when you hear it doesn't age. Like you hear the beat, the snares and the drums and the guitars. If you hear it at home versus if you hear it on like a large stadium or something, you hear it's little things that you hear for the first time. And so I don't know what it is about that project, but I think it was the beginning of pop music, where it's like, you can't put this in no genre box. You can't call it R&B. You can't call it dance. You can't call it rock. You can't call it roll. Like, it ain't rhythm and it ain't blues. It's Thriller. And I love it. And I think that, like, I hate, bringing up the Queen when I brought up so many times, but she's making great points about genres and how she weaves through them on her projects. It's like genres are actually limiting. Because it forces you to make everything on your project sound one way. And that's boring. You should just make noise until it's music.
That's it. I'm here for that. What is your guilty pleasure?
It's my guilty pleasure. Dark chocolates. Like, I could do dark chocolate bar, and if it got almonds or something like.
I saw you asking for dark chocolate on your.
I was you don't need it. Like, do not get in your car and do not go get it. Like, but I was like, but if somebody brings it, like, that's a blessing, and I can't block my blessings. Like, that's.
Did you get some?
No, it was storming.
Gotcha.
It was on its way, but it was storming, and I was just like, I'm not gonna open up one of these apps and order like on one of these food apps and order something. So I'm just gonna stay away from it. But like, you can hand me if it's dark chocolate, if it's in cake form, if it's like, I'm all down for it. It's I don't like milk chocolate and I don't like really, really sweet chocolate. So like
milk chocolate.
Dark chocolate is right where it's. I used to like milk chocolate and hate dark chocolate, but now.
Should I get you some when you come?
Yes. If it's dark chocolate in the bar, it needs to be at least 70%
dark chocolate.
Higher, yeah.
Higher, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Because when it start getting under there, then it's basically milk chocolate. I don't know what else they got going on, but.
Okay, cool. And then the final question: one word do you hope June 20th will feel like? Just give me one word you hope that when people experience you in Minneapolis on June 20th, what would that experience be like?
Release. Release. I hope that people can walk out of there and they can let go of whatever they were carrying on the way in. Like, I hope they leave it there. Like, I people can do that, and we all need it. Like, me too. Like, I hope whatever I got going on, I hope when I walk into that party and when I walk out of there, I'm two different people. Like, and I want everybody else.
Awesome. Thank you so much, TRYFE. This has been such a great conversation. I've had a great time, and I'm sure everybody has been excited to get to know you better.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. And for folks who've been watching and listening, I'm going to share everything you need to know about TRYFE in the description, and also a link to, get your tickets to Indigo Room happening.
Yes. And I'm chopping all this stuff up. I already know. It's too.
I have a lot of work ahead of me, but it was worth it. It was very, very worth it. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm sure the folks who are watching at home as well, I've also enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. Until next time, Odejuma.